All right, we're ready.
We're
Good to
ready.
go.
Do this.
All right. Welcome everybody. Thank you joining us on another Thursday at All the Factors. We have a huge guest. I'm very excited to have him here. We have Andrew Rice joining us today, and he is you know what? I'm not even going to introduce you. I'm going to let you do the
Let you
honors for
introduce
that.
yourself.
Yes. Whatever you'd like to say, whatever you'd like to do, go right ahead.
Okay, well, I guess I can give my little elevator speech so that I can practice that. So, my name is Andrew Rice. I'm running for the Democratic nomination to represent Connecticut's 3rd Congressional District, challenging longtime incumbent Rosa DeLauro. And so, I want to, I'm running on an agenda of delivering universal health care, reducing student loan interest, and doubling Pell Grants so that students have more access to education and to deliver on FDR's unrealized dream of having a 21st century economic bill of rights, ensuring that every American has economic security. And the way we're going to pay for all of this is by ending the imperial war machine and reducing the imperial war budget. We are going to abolish ICE, and we are going to close loopholes that affect taxes on billionaires, and we're going to abolish the billionaires so that we have the funding that we need to deliver the programs that will actually deliver results for the working class. Because in the richest nation in the world, no one in our country should be without a home, they should not be without food, they should not be without education, they should not be without shelter. These are things that every human being deserves, and that is the promise of America, and that is what our campaign and many campaigns across this country are working towards.
No,
100%. Absolutely on
yeah,
board with all of that. And
everything. 10 out of
we
10.
definitely we definitely are going to want to get deeper into each of those items, but
Yeah.
I think it would be good for everyone, for me. I'm personally curious about your, I guess, journey to getting here. Like, what inspired you to run? What led up to this? Like, have you always been involved in like community organizing and advocacy and things like that, or did you just wake up one day like, hey, things are bad, I have to do something?
Which was kind of what we did, you know.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair.
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. So when
Okay.
I was, I'm 38 years, yeah, I'm 38 years old. When I was at UConn, I graduated in 2010. I was with the UConn College Democrats, and I was, really active in trying to get Democrats elected during the Bush years. And then in 2010, I graduated, had to start my life, had to start, living and making money and earning a living. And so I kind of took a little bit of a back seat, especially thinking that like, oh, Obama has this. And then when Hillary came up, I'm like, nah, she's my boo, she's got this.
Yeah.
And for the past up until 2019, I was drinking the blue Kool-Aid. It was delicious, like so good. And then I realized it was just as sugary and shitty as the red Kool-Aid that was being fed to people. And so,
Unfortunately.
in 2019, I was just I was going through the moves, realizing that the Democratic Party was probably not the party that I thought it was, not the party of the working class, not the party of labor. And so I just started having this like almost like an identity crisis with my affiliation to the Democratic Party. Then the pandemic happened and the world completely turned upside down. And I became a hermit like many people. And I was like, nope, I'm done. I'm just going to sit here and, do nothing. Then October 7th happened. And I was like, oh, this sucks, but I know what's coming. This is going to just turn into a genocide. And so I started becoming a lot more active in Palestinian spheres because I had a friend that I met at Yale back in 2017, and she described, she's from Gaza, so she described her firsthand experience, and that was kind of when my eyes really started opening up to what's going on over there. And then to understand that once October 7th happened, that would give the Israeli government the go-ahead to just finish what they've been starting since 1948 with the Nakba and ethnically cleansing Gaza. So I started becoming very involved in those Palestinian circles. And I was begging everyone, I'm like, we have got to denounce this genocide. We have got to end this genocide, because if we don't, we're going to lose the 2024 election to Donald Trump. Sure enough, we lost the election to Donald Trump. And then things just started escalating. Now, on July 25th, Christmas in July, I had a little Christmas present given to me, or not. I was at there was an event to make noise for Palestine. and I was there with a couple of other people, and I noticed someone with very stark purple hair in the corner of my eye, and I'm like, is that Rosa DeLauro? Sure
Nice.
enough, it was, and this I do have a video of. I start confronting her, or, accosting her, because earlier in that week, she voted in favor of $500 million to give to Israel, which is an apartheid state committing a genocide. And so I was questioning her on that decision and started pestering her as to why she could not call what is going on in Palestine a genocide. To which, at one point I said, how do you sleep with yourself at night, not calling this a genocide? And her immediate response was very well, thank you. I'm like, oh my God.
Wow.
I posted this to Instagram. It got onto Facebook. Someone on Facebook left a comment saying, oh, that guy should challenge her for her seat in Congress. And then I wrote something like, oh, I'll do it if I must. Just like joking. And then someone from the Hamden DTC reaches out to me and says, were you serious about that? Would you actually challenge her for Congress? And I'm like,
wow.
I don't know. Am I serious about that?
Yeah.
And then I looked more into her record, because a lot of people think that she is this progressive champion. And then when I look into her record, I'm like, oh, you kind of suck. She does not support universal health care. She passed one of the largest police budgets in United States history. She has voted in favor of ICE over and over and over again. And the more and more I looked into her policies, the more I was like, oh, there's a lot more wrong with her than just Palestine. I'm like, you know what? I don't really see a future for myself and our generation because of the trajectory of where we're going. And I'm like, I've got nothing to lose. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And here I am today.
Wow,
No,
what a story.
Yeah. No, that is a really, one thing that kind of stood out to me is one thing I do want to ask, since we can just kind of get right into it. So you met me personally. I did not know much. I did not know, because we've always been taught the history of World War II, and what's happened to the Jewish people, and being an immigrant. That's kind of what you're taught. Like, you know what I mean? Like, America exists as just this thing, like, for people outside of the imperial core, right? It's just this land of opportunity. But when you get here, and then you're not even taught the right history, what's happening outside of the world. So you actually had firsthand experience for a long time, since 2017, to be able to know what's going on there, because I didn't know. I was in the same position as you. I was drinking the blue Kool-Aid, and thinking like, hey, we just gotta be behind it. Even though I was aware of candidates like Bernie, so you've been knowledgeable about what's been happening in the Middle East, and across the world. The reason I want to ask that is, we can just kind of get right into it. Is kind of as a United States rep, you're gonna have to vote on some big packages for international aid and stuff like that. What qualifies you to be able to, or how would you, like, how can we ask you, how can we trust you that you'll vote the correct way, right?
That is a great
And that's
question.
a subjective answer. I mean, subjective question. The correct way. What is the correct way? But mainly meaning not for wars, right? Like,
so, I mean, first and foremost, the best way to hold public servants accountable is to always stay active and engaged. A lot of time, candidates for Congress or candidates for higher office will, ask everyone to help them get into office, and then they're like, "I've got this. Take a back seat."
yeah,
No. Being in politics, being a informed citizen, doing your civic duty doesn't just come every year on election day, or every 2 years, or every 4 years. It is every day. It is something that you do have to live and breathe. And you always have to be aware of the actions of the people representing you. And so the best way to hold someone accountable is to, having conversations like this, writing it down, screenshotting it, having a list of promises that I have made. And if I go back on those promises, calling me out on it, asking me, showing up to events, crashing my fundraisers, and saying, hey, Andrew, you said that you weren't going to vote for war, and then you went ahead and did. What the fuck? And I either have a really good answer, or I do what Hakeem Jeffries does and say, bye-bye, I don't know if you saw last
Yes.
week I crashed.
Yes, we
into
did.
Jeffrey
I loved
Dahmer's
it.
razor.
I loved it. That was great. That was great.
No, that's more of what we want to see. I mean, Nam and I talk about that all the time. In the way Democrats are, facing fascism right now, or authoritarianism, whatever you want to call it. They're not getting out there. They're not really going to protest. They're not getting arrested. They're not causing any sort of ruckus. So that is, I mean, seeing you do that as a candidate was really cool, and kind of, it sounds like you're alluding to that you're making a promise that you're not going to become like a new Andrew should you get elected. Like you're in it. Like you're still doing all that.
I pray that. So I mean, a lot of politicians get in and they have these these big talks and these big words, and then something happens, and so that is something that I think about constantly. What happens to these public servants once they get into office and then suddenly they abandon a lot of the things that they say they are for? And that's just the reality of the situation. And so I want to, I can say I promise that I won't, and I hope that I don't, because I want to see these wars end. I want to see this imperial war machine dismantled, and instead of having the people that work in those industries make bombs and planes of war, let's take those skill sets and use them to build up our society so that we can have things like high-speed rail and well-funded public infrastructure, public transportation, and that way we can boom the economy by being able to move labor and people. So like if I go to New York City, first of all, it takes me 2 hours to get there, and I have to spend $40 on a ticket, and I don't make that much money, and so by the time I get to New York City, I can't do anything else besides just look, because I've already had to spend 2 hours of time and $40 out of my wallet to just get there. And so the fact that we don't have this free movement of people is just a detriment to our economy. And instead of investing that money in here, we're giving it to these warmongers that are just bombing mostly brown people across the seas, which then also ties back into a lot of the issues that we're having with migrant crises and the influx of immigrants. The reason why a lot of immigrants come to this country, first of all, I believe that everyone is welcome here. At the end of the day, this land was stolen by people that were here before, and so saying that anyone is illegal on stolen land to me just doesn't make any sense. But a lot of the reason why these people come here is because look what's happening in Cuba and Venezuela and in Iran. Since at least the Second World War, our government has gone into all of these nations, especially any nation that tried to nationalize any of their natural resources, and took out those governments, instilled right-wing governments that would take those resources and give them to the capital parasite class that wanted those natural resources for cheap, and created all of these unsafe conditions in these people's home countries where they were no longer safe and no longer had access to the resources they needed to survive, because all those resources were taken back to, as Nav said, the imperial core. And so when America comes in and destroys these people's homes and destabilizes their economies and makes unsafe living conditions, they are forced to migrate outside of their country, which then puts pressure on other countries. And it's a domino effect that eventually comes back to America. And so when people complain about the migrant crisis and how there's too many immigrants flowing into our country, what did you expect was going to happen? Mm-hmm. What did you expect? If someone broke into my house, stole all of my resources, and then burned the house down, I would probably go find whoever took those resources and try and get them back. And then on a side note, the Cato Institute recently released a study that showed that immigrants give more money to our government by trillions of dollars than the government gives back to them.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, immigrants, trans people, gay, black, it is all just identity politics that are being used to divide the working class. Because at the end of the day, the working class has so much more in common that gives us connection, and all of our differences are just things that make us unique and beautiful, and we need to share all of it, share our common struggle, and share what makes us diverse and unique, because that is what builds the rich culture of America. And when we push aside all of these labels and realize that at the end of the day we are all one people with one struggle, we can unite and fight against the greedy billionaires that our tax dollars fund for them to have their private jets and their private yachts to take to Pedophile Island to rape prepubescent children, ritualistically slaughter them, eat their fucking flesh, and now possibly dissolve their bones in sulfuric acid. And no wonder why people wake up and like, I don't want to do my job, because all of our tax dollars go to greedy billionaire pedophiles and the imperial war machine. And can we just get some health care that includes vision and teeth? Because I don't understand how my eyesight and my teeth are not lumped in with the rest of my health.
Right.
Absolutely.
No, you're 100% right. And I just saw a video today where I think in Illinois, a lunch lady was suspended because she's been giving food to children that didn't have a lunch voucher.
Like,
Uh, and
like we live
not
in a
even
society. Like, what are we doing? Like,
right.
come on.
And the point is, like, not even giving it away for free. It was literally she was tallying how many food she gave away, and then she would pay for it like with her own money. And the superintendent of that
So
district
like,
fired
oh my
her
God.
because her register was always off. But yet, like
Right.
you said, we have what 9 billion to Taiwan, to UAE or wherever, or 100 billion to Israel. Like insane.
$3.3 billion a year goes to Israel. I think Trump just approved like another
Yes.
$18 billion package. And in the past two and a half years, I think we've given upwards of $50 billion to Israel to perpetuate a genocide, which is also being paid for with our tax dollars. And the Israelis, the citizens of Israel, they get free healthcare.
Yes.
They get free education. And please fact check this, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of Israeli settlers in the West Bank get a stipend,
Yes.
aka
I've got
UBI. I'm like,
Yes.
okay, so there is money
Yes.
for these things, just not for us. That
Not
makes
for
no
us.
sense. That makes no
Exactly.
sense.
Exactly. And then speaking of on the topic of money going to places not here. Trump's board. I don't know if you heard this news. Trump's board of peace just launched today with 17 billion pledged for Gaza reconstruction. But European democracies have refused to join, and most governments authoritarian governments are participating. Do you view this as a legitimate peace process, or something else? So would you like what would a rice back Gaza policy look like in Congress?
Well, first of all, this isn't a peace plan. This is a real estate plan. The whole reconstruction isn't about what is best for the Palestinians and the people of Gaza. It is best for the people that want that land so that they can build resorts and hotels and condos so that all of the rich white people can go there and have their luxury suites built on stolen land. Now, if the administration was actually interested in peace, and if any of these people were actually interested in doing what is right for the Palestinian people would have a seat at the table.
Yes.
A rice-backed plan is asking, what do the Palestinians want? Because it's their land. What would be best for their reconstruction? What do they see being done with the land that is rightfully theirs? And it's never about what the Palestinians want or need. It is always about what the Israeli government wants and what predominantly white populations want. And it's just like, this doesn't make sense. Well, no, it does make sense, because in this country, we have always basically hated brown people, women, and homeless.
Yeah. Jared Kushner needs to build the Trump hotels over there. So then another thing that was come out is there's been 20,000 troops from all across nations. I know Indonesia that is another Muslim country, has promised 8,000 troops, and then a general from the United States has been put in charge of, commanding all these troops. Would you like to see troops on the ground that are seeing the transition or peaceful transition of power that is happening there?
I would defer to what makes the Palestinians comfortable. What do the Palestinians need? If they think that having troops from Indonesia and another Muslim country is something that would benefit their safety and security, I'm open to it, but I'm not going to sit here and dictate policy when I don't live there. I'm not an expert on what's going on over there because I don't live there. The people who have lived there, the people that have suffered from this genocide and from this attack on their lands, they're the ones that need to be in charge in driving this reconstruction and peace process. And since they have not been invited to the table, this is a sham of a peace process. And again, it is just a real estate plan so that a bunch of these greedy pedophile billionaires can make even more money at the cost of human suffering.
All right, so I'll do one more international question, then we'll switch over to domestic. So I told you I yap, like
It's fine.
this is for
It's
all
fine.
the factors, but it's just me here. It's just I do everything.
The yapping is the spice of conversation.
No, but I would be remiss if I didn't bring this up. Gaza isn't the only genocide happening right now. We have to look at Sudan.
Yep.
Right.
And the Congo.
And the Congo, of course. So every day there's more reports coming out. UN fact-finding missions every single day are saying that the rapid response forces are campaigning against non-Arabs communities in El Fasher. There's been drone strikes that have they're constantly conducted every single day. And we are somewhat indirectly backing this, as the UAE is our closest ally. We've been talking about Gaza. Why do you think that Sudan doesn't get the same amount of coverage? Why does one conflict receive so much news coverage, even though it's always the wrong coverage that we're seeing about Gaza? But whenever, I have yet to see aside from Al Jazeera. I think Al Jazeera being the most prominent one, or drop site now that is really becoming a up and coming resource for news. But channels like CNN, Fox News, but
Fox Noise.
Yeah, right, exactly. CNBC or MSN, they never mention Sudan. Why do you think that is?
So I think for a couple of reasons. First, the fact that the genocide in Palestine is linked to Israel, and there's always been a push by AIPAC to keep Israel in the forefront of everyone's mind, and a lot of Congress is bought off by the Israeli government, and so there is more focus on Israel, and the propagandists have been trying to push the narrative that Israel is defending their right to exist, yada yada yada, when we know that they are just ethnically cleansing a region. But again, because of our affinity for AIPAC and Israel in this country, there's going to be more focus on what is happening in that region. I think the other reason why it's more prominent on people's minds is that there is a direct correlation between what is happening in Palestine and the American government. We could end the genocide in Palestine tomorrow by just simply not giving Israel more money and more weapons. We can end this. We have direct control over this genocide, whereas you said the genocides in the Congo and the Sudan are more indirect. Now, the other thing that probably goes into that is, first of all, the live stream of the genocide in Palestine has helped to desensitize us to what is now going on in our own country. The IOF, some people call it the IDF, I call it the IOF, the Israeli Occupation Forces, they trained ICE. ICE is deploying the same tactics that the IOF used and developed on the Palestinians. But the other thing is, and I'm not as sure about the Sudan, but in the Congo, they have a lot of, I believe it's cobalt, and I believe cobalt is necessary for a lot of our technology. And so for, Americans, what's going on in Palestine is a tragedy. It is a genocide. It is a catastrophe of human rights. But we don't get any natural resources that affect our daily lives here. If we were to suddenly have people focusing on the genocide in Congo, then they might start to understand that, oh, well, your phone is, made with minerals that came from, the children that are being genocided in Congo. And so does that impact sales and consumerism? Because what is going on in Congo and Sudan is just another repercussion of the imperial war machine and capital, and trying to ensure that capitalist interests are met by sucking out all of the natural resources of the global South.
Yes. I 100% agree. Last week we had this conversation um, that it was at one of the DSA meetings. One of the members over there asked this questions. Well, like why do so many people think like whatever ICE is doing is okay, right? Or why don't more people stand up? I think, and my answer, and I see this clearly, is that Americans have this filter on them, and it's the treats filter. Right, like we see everything through the treats. Like once you take this treats away, once you take those treats away, is when Americans will truly wake up. Because no matter we can, and this was my analysis of the situation too, right? Like you can show uh, pictures of unalive children, starving children. Uh, People really never understand what that feels like, right? Like they can't, it's a picture. We see it, we see like, oh, this is such a horrible, horrible thing that is happening. But there's no connection there when, again, when you're outside of the imperial code, that is your daily reality, no matter where you are, whether you're in Gaza, whether you're in Sudan, whether you're in Rwanda, whether you're in Ukraine, even, or in Bangladesh, where you're working in factories. It's everywhere, right? You don't get this treats filter because you don't have it. You don't have any, so you constantly have to fight. That's why uh, as we've seen last year with the overthrow from the students, right? Like they have a new government coming in because they don't have any other options. Americans do have that option. Not to say that there's no poverty here. There's of course poverty here. There's of course so many things wrong with this country, but the resources are readily available to us to a certain extent where if you're born poor in India, you don't get that luck, right? Like you don't get like food stamps. Like that's a thing that doesn't exist. So I think what you said is 100% correct. Why we don't see so much news about the Sudan, because if there was so much news, if the hype, sorry to use the word hype, in the news is as much as if for Gaza was for Sudan, then things like our iPhones would be triple, quadruple the price. No, I think you nailed it 100%. All right, I'll stop talking. I'll let my co-host actually do the talking. It's just been me and you.
Okay. Well, I guess along that same lines, I mean, you could use that same line of thinking to explain why there isn't more of an uproar. We are seeing uproar, especially in, Minneapolis. That's still going on, even though we're not hearing about it as much.
Yes.
Same kind of mentality that a lot of Americans can have, because you can't picture yourself being detained in a detention facility, or something, like that, or being harassed by ICE, something like that. In fact, it was just, I believe this week where, of course, a white Irish American citizen was detained, and we got his breakdown, to show like how bad it really was. I mean, that's a point in and of itself that, of course, it takes like a white immigrant to share their experiences. But I wanted to give you the opportunity. You've already said abolish ICE, but I wanted you to give you the opportunity to go more into detail about your ICE and immigration plan.
So real quickly, I did want to mention something about why people don't necessarily care as much. People are struggling to survive. I think 60 to 70% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. And so when you are working 10, 12-hour days, 7 days a week to come home and not even be able to afford both rent and groceries, it's hard to empathize and sympathize with people that are going through something else when you yourself are trying to struggle. We also, or not trying to struggle, are struggling and trying to survive.
Yeah.
And there's also something that I believe is called flooding the zone. There's just so much bad shit being thrown at us to overwhelm our nervous systems, to deregulate our nervous systems in a country that doesn't really care and still stigmatizes mental health. All of this is done on purpose to make it difficult for people to care. And so I never want to fault anyone for not being more understanding of what's going on to other people, because again, when you're struggling to survive, I understand that you're going to have to focus on how do you pay for rent, how do you make sure your kids have education, have food, have what they need to have childhoods. Now, as far
Absolutely
as
valid points. Sorry.
no worries. So as far as, yes, 100%, we need to abolish ICE. We need to abolish ICE. We need to hold trials. We need to investigate every ICE agent, every enabler, and we need to prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law and hold them accountable for any violation against our Constitution and for any crime against humanity. Otherwise, this will just happen again, and it will be even worse. Now, I don't believe that we should just have criminals running around, but undocumented immigrants, they are not criminals. Being an undocumented immigrant is just a civil offense. It is not a criminal offense. And so what I would like to see is if a crime is being committed, the police departments, they respond to crime. If a citizen is committing a crime or an undocumented immigrant is committing a crime, crime is crime, and police will respond to both accordingly. Now, if the police officer, detains a person who is suspected of a crime, they can be referred to before we had ICE, we had the INS, the Immigration and Naturalization Services. Now, that institution also had issues of its own, especially with the Haitians. And so I believe we need to bring back the INS, but we also need to reform the INS so that it actually serves a function, a proper
Which
function.
is what I dealt with when I came into this country. I dealt with the INS.
So,
Not a painful experience, but not a painless experience either. It was just so much more of like waiting around, and just constantly going back over and over again.
Well, I guess so. That leads me to one to question. I would like for you to kind of articulate your thoughts on why is the INS reformable but not ICE?
Yeah.
So, great question. So at the end of the day, I believe that ICE was never actually meant for immigration. It was always meant to be used against us, the citizens. It was always meant to be a form of control. I also don't believe that the INS had armed agents. It was more of just like a referral service. And so if an undocumented immigrant is detained by the police for committing a crime and they are discovered to be undocumented, they can be referred to the INS for processing and deportation. The other thing is that I believe that the INS was created so that we could have, well regulated immigration, because we don't want terrorists or whatever to come to our country because we don't have any sort of security measures. I don't think that is as big of an issue as people make it out to be. But again, I do want our citizens to feel that our country is doing something to keep them safe. But along with ICE just being here to eventually control American citizens, ICE was always meant to also ethnically cleanse the country of Hispanics. And Hillary Clinton just proved that the other day when she went off and basically said, like, oh, Obama and Biden had more deportations than even, Trump did, because they were much more polite about it. No, the act of removing people from their families who have been here for 10 to 20 years and have known no other home than America, that is still violence.
Yeah.
That is still ethnically cleansing.
Yeah.
And the idea that the Democrats were just more polite about ethnically cleansing, to me, is disgusting.
Yeah. It's always the trope, right? Like they both drop bombs. It's just the Democrats' bombs are pink with ponies on it. You know what I mean? Like it's
there's a meme that's a picture of a bomber dropping bombs and it says Republican, and then below it says Democrat with the same bomber, but it has like a BLM flag, a rainbow flag, and like an Obama.
And it's a female pilot,
flag.
Right.
And it's a girl boss pilot. Like
yes.
like. It's just ridiculous. It's just so ridiculous that, like, you know what? I don't even get mad. Sometimes I get mad at myself. I don't even get mad at other people's that like I was fooled for so long. Like just that I thought this was okay. Like, like this is what we just had to do. Like and partly because I just didn't know any better.
What options are widely out there? I mean, when Bernie first ran for president, that was like, that was like my first time being even exposed to these ideas that like universal healthcare could be a thing. Maybe that's naive of me, but it's it's a different, that was like a whole different world.
This is something that our society does to us. The failures of society, they try to push onto the individual to take blame for it. And it's just like, back in I don't know the exact numbers, but back in the 80s or something, like 80 different companies held the media market. Now it's 5 companies. And the same companies that own the media, own the news, own our food, own, what soap we wash our bodies with, and they control the narrative. And they all work with one another to ensure that a certain narrative is pushed on the American people. And then when people are able to, like, don't focus on the fact that you were propagandized. Be proud of the fact that that $1 trillion propaganda machine no longer works on you. Be proud of
True.
that and celebrate
That is true. Right.
And it's true. And so I've learned, someone from psychology told me that the 5 hardest things for a person to say to themselves or another person: I was wrong, I'm sorry, I don't know, I need help, I love you. You just admitted that you were wrong. You just apologized for it. You admitted that you needed help. So be proud of yourself for doing the hardest things for a person to do based off of psychology standards. And then I always try and give compassion to the people who aren't there yet. Because for the people who don't see anything wrong with ICE, that don't see anything wrong with Trump, in order for them to see the light, or what I consider the light, they're going to have to say 4 of the 5 hardest things to themselves and other people. And so I always do try and give them compassion, but my patience is wearing thin because now we're dealing with fucking pedophilia.
Right.
Yeah.
So we are welcoming the Trump supporters back with open arms.
We struggle with this all the time here, and we talk about this all the time. I have friends, very close friends, that did vote for Trump, even against, ample warning and ample fights. And I struggle with this whenever I see somebody like, well, I admit that I was wrong. I can appreciate that, but the thing that I've come to, and you kind of alluded to it too, is the longer this goes on, it just means the more you have to do to make up for that, right? Like if you woke up when the insurrection happened and he wanted to overthrow the government, and you woke up like, no, this is wrong. I'll give you grace, like, okay, yeah, you're seeing the light for what it really is, and then you voted for Biden, and then you voted for Kamala this time around. But if even today, with all that's happened in Minneapolis, all that's happened in LA, and all that's happened across the world, and you still go, this is what I voted for, it makes it hard, right?
Yes.
Like it makes it hard to like be like, like I'm still willing to accept it. Like I'm still willing to like welcome you, but it's like you gotta really climb the Everest here before you get anywhere,
I'm a firm believer in redemption, and saying I'm sorry is a big first step.
Sure.
But it is not the only step.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I would love to have a better understanding of is what happened in 1945 and 1946 when Nazi Germany was defeated, and people who were supportive of Hitler and the Nazis, they all didn't go to jail. They all didn't, how did the Germans reconcile with the people who saw Hitler and didn't say anything and didn't, stand a firmer ground against him? So there is historical reference that should be investigated. But yes, one of the biggest challenges for myself is having that compassion for people who, especially now, Donald Trump was mentioned in the Epstein pedophiles 1 million times. 1 million times.
Unfathomable.
It's insane, right?
And I don't care if you were mentioned. And here's the thing: Bill Clinton was also mentioned a shit ton of times in the pedophiles. He probably needs to go to jail too.
Go to jail. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Hey, it's always funny whenever they go like, Bill Clinton's in there too. Yeah, fucking oh shit, get him in jail. You think I care? Okay. Like, what do you mean?
So when I'm elected to Congress, we need at least 3 select committees. The first select committee is to investigate every single person mentioned in the Epstein pedophiles, investigate them, and see if they have any connection, if they knew any of these things, prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law. The second select committee we need is to investigate all of the ICE abuses. Every single and not even just the ICE agents, every single person in government that funded ICE, every single corporation that has a contract with ICE, and every single transaction between any politician and any corporation that has those contracts with ICE, including all of the ICE agents, and investigate them and prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law. And then the third select committee that we need is one on genocide. And we need to investigate every motherfucker that has allowed this genocide in Palestine to go on, and genocides around the world, and every corporation that funded it, every politician that went along with it, and every member of the IOF that has committed crimes against humanity, and all of those people need to be held accountable. Because until there's actually accountability for fascism, for fucking pedophilia, and for genocide, how do we move forward?
Yeah, I agree. And I just came out, like, I think almost 20,000 United States citizens are serving in the IDF at this moment, which is insane. They could just be walking next to you and you'd have no idea.
Right.
They need to be investigated and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Right.
So, I mean, if you are in the IOF and you are just, patrolling the street, la da la 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 di da, okay, that might be fine. I don't know. That's what investigation is for. But if you went over into Gaza or the West Bank and shot journalists and shot the privates off of little boys and dropped the bomb that evaporated thousands of people, yeah, you're going to spend the rest of your life in fucking jail. You are going to jail. Jail time.
Yeah.
Jail time.
Honestly, I don't know which one you'll have an easier time doing. I think they're all equally pretty tough. I don't know if because Democrats are in the pedophiles too. They're in there for sure. I don't know how much.
Well, Pam Bundy said we'd have to restart the whole system, right?
Right.
Like, I mean,
restart it.
But it's like, let's do it. Like, calm down.
If the system is being propped up by raping children, then I don't want the system. Then it's clearly a terrible system, and we need a new one.
It's perpetuated by, like you said, just each of us individuals being propagandized to believe that we have to be so afraid of our immigrant neighbor or our Black neighbor or, our neighbor who's poorer than us, whatever it is. Like,
how many unhoused people, how many immigrants, how many drag queens, how many of any of these marginalized groups appeared in the pedophiles or committed this genocide or are ICE agents? I don't see any ICE agents dressed in drag.
Right.
Neither do I. I mean, who knows? But well, I'm glad that you mentioned housing. This is a hard segue, but housing is like a pet issue of mine. I'm a social worker. I worked with people experiencing homelessness, and it's a tough issue that's tough to solve. I worked in it during COVID, where we did get this landfall of resources, and I still felt like it wasn't even scratching the surface because it wasn't offering people services that they actually needed. Things like permanent supportive housing. It was basically throwing a little bit of money for short-term housing. So like I said, housing just in general, huge issue, pet issue of mine. Can you go into some detail about how you would solve the housing crisis?
Absolutely. So first of all, there are more empty homes and apartments than there are homeless people. So we have the housing, we just don't have the policy, because at the end of the day, housing has been commodified to the point where it's now just another profit-driven business. We need to decommodify housing. Housing is a right, not a privilege. We live in the richest nation in the world. Everyone should have housing. And one of the biggest issues is private equity. They come in, they snatch up all these properties, they keep them empty on purpose so that they can drive up rental prices, and then they buy up all these houses with cash for 5 to 10% above asking price. Then they create these shell companies to then sell like a $500,000 house for $700,000 that they can then just buy themselves, to artificially inflate housing prices and create a housing and renting market that continuously push people out of being able to afford rent and housing. So there's eminent domain. There's nothing stopping us from taking these properties back from the private equity industries and ensuring that these are available to people that actually need it. But the other thing is, I think there are creative solutions that we can have to ensure that everyone has housing. I'll go back to my days in college. I lived in a dorm. I had my own room. I shared bathrooms and showers with people. I shared a dining hall with people. Why can't we have facilities such as that, where we have, quick and easy housing, where people can have shelter, they can have a stable place to live, paid for by the government, and have mental health services and have resources? Because at the end of the day, I believe that a majority of homeless people, they want to work. But when you don't have a house, you don't have an address. So where are you going to send a resume from?
Right.
Where are you going to shower so that you can go to an interview? How are they going to contact you if you don't have a phone?
Mm-hmm.
And so if we had these places where people did have a stable place to live, had, a phone, had a social worker so that they can, and then also just having universal health care and well-funded mental health services, because a lot of people go into homelessness because they have mental health issues that have never been addressed. A lot of the issues we face in our society is just unresolved trauma because we don't actually believe in funding mental health, and we still stigmatize people with mental health issues, and all of that needs to change, because I don't care who you are or what you do or don't do. Everyone deserves a home. Everyone deserves a place to call home, even if it is just a dorm room style facility where they can have a place to sleep. So I've been volunteering, not as much as I would like to, but I've been volunteering at some homeless shelters.
Okay.
And people come in and they're like, oh yeah, I just got back from my job.
Yep.
You have a job and you're
Mhm.
still homeless?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, most people who are homeless, you're not even encountering at the shelter because they're living in their cars or they're couch surfing when they can. So the sheer amount of people who are experiencing homeless who we don't even see because we can't track them at a place like a shelter is astronomical.
But
We talked about this, I think, a couple months ago, where it was like 14 million Americans per year go in and out of poverty constantly.
Yeah.
Like that's 14 million people.
And that's something that a lot of people don't realize, I think, how cyclical it is, because you get maybe a better job for a little bit, and so you can rent an apartment, but then maybe because of childcare or transportation, you lose it, or they cut back your hours, so now you're back in the cycle of poverty again. It's not just like a exit and you're exited forever type thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
not for everyone.
That is one of the reasons why we need an economic bill of rights, guaranteeing things like housing, healthcare, education, food, shelter, public transportation, things of a modern society. Like,
expand, because I'm sure several people maybe listening have never heard that term, economic bill of rights, before.
So it was proposed, I believe, in 1944 during FDR's, I think it was his State of the Union address in 1944. And he talked about ensuring that we had policies that guaranteed people housing, education, food, modest income, guaranteed to a job, and a social safety net. That way, there was, even in economic downturns, no one ever had to face the prospect of being homeless, of not having the resources they need to live. And
Right.
as a society, it's just like, what are we doing? What are we building towards? Like, and I have to disclose that I was I still am a huge Star Trek fan. And so some of my, ideals come from Star Trek, where it's just like, why are we not building towards a society where we can actually enjoy our lives? Like, I don't understand when people are like, it seems like the conservative idea of the future is everyone's white, works 60 hours a week or 80 hours a week until they're dead. Why is it so much to
you
want
drop dead at like 50?
Yeah.
Live in
But it's
company
okay
towns?
because you had 12 kids to replace you, so it's fine.
Yeah.
It's like, what are we doing with our, like, why are we doing this?
What's
like, what
the
is the
point?
point?
Where are the kids gonna work? In the coal mines? Like
They yearn for them.
the yearn for the coal mines.
Yeah, to power the AI that's, helping to
Yeah.
destroy our planet and turn our children's minds into mush and robbing people of creativity and jobs. And it's just it's just crazy. Like, there's like, okay, so I just saw a video today. First of all, the 40-hour work week was designed for the nuclear family, and a patriarchal nuclear family where the man would go get the bread, the woman would stay at home, make babies, and care for them. But the 40-hour work week was also designed to keep us under control, because I think it was Henry Ford that experimented and found that the 40-hour work week is not what gives us the most productivity, it's what gives capitalists the most control. It's enough time for you to not break down and burn out completely, but it's still so much time that you're too exhausted to, come home and start a new business, or, write a book, or organize with your neighbors to say we want more for ourselves. And I know, like, there was a commercial the other day at the Super Bowl where Matthew Broderick was like, oh, use AI, it'll help you with your job and you can get a day off. I'm just like, you're cute.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
I have no faith. I have no faith that
So we've already
AI is
seen...
actually going to reduce the work week.
Oh, it's not going to, because here's the thing. So I used to ask myself, like, what did people do in the office before they had computers and the internet? And then I realized they did basically the same thing. They just didn't have a computer and the internet to help them do their job. Yes. Then after the computer and internet revolutions, people were able to be more productive at their work. Yes. And at that point, we could have reduced the work schedule to 25, 30 hours a week. Yes. But the capitalists and the parasitic billionaires were like, no, we don't want that. We're going to have this one person can now do the jobs of 4 people, and we'll just fire the other 3.
Yes.
That's all that's going to happen with AI.
No, that's all.
Wait, are you saying capitalism is the root of all our problems? I feel like you might be getting there.
That's what you said. If that's what you think, that's
you. From your economic bill of rights, like, what I was going to say is, I didn't want to interrupt you, is like, this is not a new concept. This has been around for almost 100 years. And the only thing, and I was going to ask you, what do you think? And we just kind of answered it, is capitalism. The capitalism is what stopped this concept that is almost 100 years that would have made life infinitely better. Like, how did FDR know this, and that we still have to convince people? You know what I mean? It's insane.
So, I mean, I'm very pro-union, but I'm a little annoyed with the unions because they're like, we need to fight for a 40-hour work week that pays us a living wage. That was what they fought for in 1938.
Right.
Why are we fighting for
go to the next step now?
Yeah, can we set the bar a little higher?
Right.
Like, I don't want living wages. I want thriving wages.
Yes.
And I want...
The money's there.
The money is there. So there was a study done, and I don't... It's on my website, and it they determined a standard minimum of living. And if you applied that standard minimum of living to all 8.5 billion people living on this planet, we could give all 8.5 billion people that standard of living with just 30% of the resources and labor that we have now.
Yes.
But no, the billionaires need their yachts to go to fucking Pedophile Island to have their satanic rape, ritualistic, sacrificing, flesh-eating, psycho, whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
And
I mean, the crazy thing is, they can't have their islands where they do all that, but they can still have their yachts. Like, if we have this standard, like, most of them can probably keep at least one of their yachts, we're not asking them to live in squalor.
Yes, it's like, oh, okay, instead of having a gold-plated toilet, you'll have to settle for silver. I'm so sorry.
But
you can't have a yacht to go to your yacht, man. Just
I don't
go
want
to your
them to
yacht.
have to live that way.
They have their yacht to take to their helipad, to take to their private jet, to go to the Super Bowl. After the Super Bowl, like 500 private jets left that night.
Yeah.
And we have to use paper straws to save the planet.
Right.
Spare me.
Right.
It's insane. It's insane. You know how many paper straws I'll have to not use for like 1 hour of like private jet? It's like astronomical. Like I could never do it in a lifetime.
Exactly.
I want to say that by
It's
like
insane.
January 10th, most billionaires had already expended the amount of CO2 emissions that the average American does all year. I'm like, great.
Yeah.
Like,
Like,
what's the
well,
point?
better make sure I sort my recycling though anyway,
Right,
you know.
right,
Which I
right.
will do. I will still do. I don't have a problem with it, but it's like it does feel a little futile when you talk about it like that.
Well, I'm going to burst your bubble on the recycling thing because I was very
Oh, no.
pro avid recycler. Let's
You're gonna
recycle everything.
traumatize her tonight.
I'm gonna traumatize you, but sometimes the truth is traumatizing. Recycling, that was a program that was started by none other than the plastic industry.
No.
Yes.
Oh my God! Why is it always capitalism?
It
It's
comes
just
back to
always
capitalism.
capitalism.
So they sold us recycling so that we would feel better about consuming plastic. Most plastic cannot be recycled. Most plastic is not recycled. Now, I still recycle, and I still encourage people to recycle. But recycling is just a. So there's actually the three words, and we only focus on the last one: reduce, reuse, recycle. Reducing is the best thing we can do. Reducing what we spend, reducing what we use. That's the first one. Reusing what we do already get, and then if we can't reuse it, then we recycle it.
Yeah.
But the recycling, the further you go down, the less profitable it is.
Right.
Or the more profitable it is. So reducing is not as profitable as reusing, which is not as profitable as recycling.
Yeah. No, 100%. No,
Very good points.
Couldn't have been said any better.
No, it probably could be said better, but I'll take it.
No, but my wife, who's not into politics like whatsoever, she always asks, like, whenever I talk to her, when I start yapping her ear off, and she's just looking at me, she's like, well, people are still buying stuff, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just people are still spending constantly. Like, if we just stopped spending for the things we don't need, it'd just be so much better. It'd just be so much better. But like 100%, it's just we focus on the recycling and we use that to reduce the other two.
Sure, but also everything you see at the grocery store comes in plastic. Like, it's so like go to the grocery store, get just what you need, sure, but then you still have a whole bunch of plastic. Can we get berries without plastic? And you cannot recycle that plastic. So it's like, come on.
But so here's the thing, we're America. We're the ones that when everyone else was reaching for the sky, we reached for the fucking moon and we made it. Where's that America? Like China, I think just had some biofilm, pseudoplastic that they made from bamboo that completely degrades in 5 days or something. If China can do it, we can do it
why
better.
Can't we? Right.
Everything the world can do, we can do better. And why are we not doing that?
Why are we not doing it? 100%. And I think I said this a couple months ago when we were having this conversation, when you say oh, well, we should do this, and somebody goes, well, no, that can't happen. I'm like, why not? You know what I mean? Like, are Americans not smart enough? Are Americans not capable enough? Why can't you do it?
We're Americans.
Why can't it happen?
Americans.
Exactly.
I love it.
I like that. Yeah, no, but 100%. So I feel like a lot of times when you do talk to the conservative, the red pilled people, you gotta hit it, because they have no answer to that, right? Like, well, why can't you do it? Are you saying you're just not capable enough? Like, that America's just not good enough? If you say that, then okay, fine. Like, you know what I mean? Like, then you can't be the greatest country on the planet.
Well, they do have scarcity mindset, though. So.
What do you mean?
I mean, that's part. I feel like that's part of the conservative mindset, is just that everything is scarce. There's only so much, immigrants can't have it.
They're taking the houses away.
We have to keep working this way because we have to provide for ourselves. Like, this is the only way. There's no
In all fairness, though, I blame the establishment Democrats for that. Because they have never once given a plan of, this is what we can do, this is what we can achieve, this is how we can make your lives better. It's just become Trump bad.
Controlled opposition. Yeah.
Trump bad.
Yeah,
We're better than Trump.
absolutely. There's no moral compass to the party. There's no backbone belief system to it.
Right.
I mean,
no, 100%.
they're controlled opposition of the capitalist class to ensure that capitalism
Same
isn't
donors.
threatened.
Yeah, they have the exact same donors. No, I 100% agree with you what you said right there. No, I made a TikTok. I got a whiteboard just so I can make the TikTok, about it. I was like, and I try to explain to people that when normal every average day Americans think about like left or right, they think like, oh, the Democrats are complete opposite on opposition to what the Republicans are. No, in reality, they're like right next to each other, like and then we could talk about this more maybe. I do want to ask your thought on Gavin Newsom. So if we still if we still have elections in the next presidential election, and Trump isn't running, it's looking like, and I hope it's not, JD Vance or Marco Rubio will be the two front runners, right? And if you're telling me that Gavin Newsom is the complete polar opposite of that, I have a bridge to sell you. There's this nice bridge somewhere that has your name on it. No, they're the exact same people. They're the exact same people.
I'm itching to give my opinion of Gavin Newsom.
Let's hear it.
Fire away.
Gavin Newsom can get fucked and stay fucked. No. He is a sleazeball. He is an absolute sleazeball.
Yeah.
First of all, he goes on to he has Ben Shapiro on his podcast, and Ben Shapiro convinces Gavin Newsom that what's happening in Palestine isn't a genocide. Well, most of the Democrats think that this is genocide, so fuck you. Second of all, Gavin Newsom is like, I think California is trying to pass an amendment that would tax billionaires and use that money for like education or something. Gavin Newsom's like, you know what? No, we're not going to tax billionaires. I'm not going to support that.
Right.
Gavin Newsom was asked about ICE. He's like, oh, I wouldn't abolish ICE. And then Gavin Newsom, he has like all these.
He wants to triple their budget.
Sounds pretty similar to your opponent.
He wants to triple their budget.
My opponent, Rosa Deplorable.
Yes.
I like that too.
I think. And then the last thing with Gavin Newsom, he's in a lot of these photo ops cleaning up the community. No, he's getting rid of encampments because he hates homeless people, and just like you are no different than the Republicans, except you will, Gavin Newsom, he, him. Okay, thank you.
Again, yes.
Yes.
Other than that, you're exactly the same as the Republicans.
The bomb with the rainbow flag on it.
Yes. With the rainbow flag. And I'm like, and so I'm a gay man, if anyone couldn't tell. And I've just felt so patronized by the Democrats because they're always like, oh, here are your rights, like vote for us, otherwise the Republicans are going to take them away, which might be true because we're seeing a backlash to the LGBTQ plus community.
Yeah.
But what good are having rights if I can't afford a home or afford groceries or afford school or afford anything that my rights grant me?
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up because amongst the center left and left, that's such a point of contention because it's like, oh, you won't vote for my crappy Democrat candidate who has no actual policies and won't stand up to anything. You must hate me and my LGBTQ friends or, my brown friends, my black friends, that sort of thing. Yeah. How do we convince people that that's not the case? It's that we need to be pushing further. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but to me, further to the left so that everybody can be included and it can actually matter.
Deconstructing all of this identity politics thing, because at the end of the day, like I said before, there's really, to me, like only two classes of people: the parasitic billionaire capitalist class and the working class. And so the Democratic Party, the establishment Democratic Party and the Republican Party do not care about working class people. They just know that if they pit our identities against one another, they can divide us and control us. And it's the whole, Napoleon divide and conquer strategy, and trying to get people to understand that. And again, I try to have compassion. I don't want to blame these people because, like I said, I drank the blue Kool-Aid. Oh, it was fucking delicious. Yum. And then at one point, I woke up and I was like, oh, this is actually toxic sludge that I'm willingly drinking. And so trying to push that message, because also at the end of the day, like, okay, great. Kamala Harris, like, I mean, people are like, I hate those signs that say if Kamala was president, I'd be at brunch right now.
Yeah.
She also wanted to increase the ICE budget. She also wanted to ethnically cleanse.
Literally her first ad.
Yes. She paraded around with Liz Cheney, who, the Iraq War, dropping bombs, all of that stuff. And it's just like, why is it always a choice between genocide and like genocide light, fascism and fascism light?
Right.
You have red MAGA fascism, you have blue MAGA fascism. And at the end of the day, people who cannot stand, I always forget the name because I'm terrible with names, but people who cannot stand up against genocide, why should we trust you that you'll stand up for democracy? Once you can demonize one group of people, it's only a matter of time before you can demonize us all. And so at the end of the day, I do not trust establishment Democrats to actually genuinely care about my rights, because once my rights are a conflict with what the capitalists needs, they will abandon me. They've already abandoned trans people.
Mm-hmm.
They've already abandoned them. They've already tried to pit gay people against trans people. I'm like, oh, no, I'm not falling for that.
Yeah.
So at some point, they will stop caring about the gay people and everyone in the LGBT community, everyone in the immigrant community, everyone in any marginalized community, because at the end of the day, if they truly wanted to lift people up out of poverty, they would focus on the underlying issue that we don't actually have any sort of representation of the working class and their needs, and getting people to understand that. And a lot of times I will try and approach people with the fact that I was wrong, that I didn't know, that I needed help, and give people, to help disarm them, to help them hear like, oh, if this guy can admit that he was wrong, maybe I can do that too, and it's not that bad. And so I always do try and lead by example and show people that, like, I drank the blue Kool-Aid. I made a mistake. I didn't know any better. But we can learn. We're humans. Like, it's always about learning. And so to me, it's not necessarily about making a mistake. It's recognizing that mistake and learning from it.
Yeah.
And trying to get people to understand that.
It's kind of ridiculous too, is to go back to a little bit, Gavin, and kind of the whole Democratic Party is the billionaire tax that is about to go up for a vote in California, and Gavin is clearly against it and is actively fight against it. Bernie was just there. Bernie was just there for rallying for it. It is so wanted by literally everybody, not even just the Democrats. Even the Republicans are on board with it, as saying like, nah, these guys got to pay more, like 100% they got to pay more. And I expect the Republican Party, I always expect the Republican Party to be evil. It's just disappointing when the people that are supposed to vote for the Democrats and the Democrats don't even like listen to them, right? Like we three are, if the Democrats were actually the opposition party to the Republicans, we would be singing praises here. Like, oh no, yeah, we gotta go for these guys. And they've let the balls fall down so much. And I'm kind of glad too, because again, the average normie American that doesn't keep up with all the politics is able to see like, oh, you know what? Like maybe they're not for me. Like I need to look somewhere else. And it gives chance to somebody like you to really come in and be like, hey, look, I am actually willing to fight for you. I'm actually willing to go against the people that are actively trying to harm you. Dropsite 2 days ago questioned Senator Murphy, our great Senator Murphy, who we liked him for quite a while, but he's been very, very disappointing. He's almost like Rosa DeLauro, maybe just a little bit better, but he was asked, like, at what point will you say abolish ICE? Because he's been on the triad of like, hey, reform ICE. How do you reform? How do you reform a 2-month-year-old being detained, and then he's suffering from bronchitis? A 2 month, like, you understand, like a 2-month child is suffering from bronchitis, is then abandoned across the border with nothing. How do you reform that, Senator Murphy? Like, at what point do you come out and be like, okay, we need to get rid of this. Like and abolish ICE is a central position now. If they didn't do that,
I would love to touch on those ICE reforms real quickly. So I think they have like a 10-point reform plan to bring them more in line with police departments. Now, I understand the need for public safety, and I understand for a lot of people, the police are a source of safety, but our police departments still kill 1,100 people per year, which is more on a per capita basis than any of our peer nations. So bringing ICE in line with an organization that still kills 1,100 people a year, to me, is problematic. Second point, there are already laws on the books that ICE are breaking. They are already breaking federal law because they don't care, because no one's holding them accountable.
right?
So if you pass all these, new things like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that.
They don't care.
You think they're going to listen when they know they can just shoot someone in broad daylight, have it recorded on video from multiple angles, and still not get questioned?
Jonathan, the person that shot Renee Good, was recording himself. Like, you understand? Like, what is body cam going to do? He had his phone in his hand.
It's already a law that they're supposed to have warrants signed by a judge. So it's like, what are we doing there? Like,
they have no right to even go up to her car to try to open her door and try to get out. They don't have the authority to do that. Yet they're blatantly doing it. They're dragging pregnant women in the streets. They have no right to do that. So, again, the idea to reform is just laughable. And for a state like Connecticut that is what, plus 20 blue all the time across everywhere, or majority of the areas, and that is the position a blue state is holding, which again, it's just laughable. And I'm, again, sometimes I get a little bit glad that like they're dropping the ball so much, because people like us can actually talk to them. Hey, look, there's people out there that are actually agreeing with your point of view. That are New York Times just did a focus group where 83% of the core Democratic voter wants a highly progressive candidate just like yourself. And the Democratic Party doesn't listen to it. They just don't listen to it. It is baffling to me.
It is, but it isn't. And so one of my go-to quotes is from Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Obi-Wan Kenobi says to Anakin that I've often observed that the senators will please the ones that fund their campaigns. And so if you go and you look at all of the funding of all of these politicians, they are funded by these mega corporations that stand to lose a lot if progressive candidates such as myself and other progressives around the country are able to get into office and actually hold these places accountable and actually create a system that is designed for the benefit of society and not the benefit of a handful of greedy, pedophile, cannibalistic billionaires.
All right. Actually, I got a question. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well,
no, finish your thought.
So one thing that people do ask of me is, like, oh, if you make it into office, how do you change it? How does one person change anything? It's like, well, one person doesn't, because I would be 1 out of 435 votes in the Congress.
Yeah.
But I'm a part of several groups. One of them is the Citizens Impeachment Courage Candidates. And a lot of us have very similar policies. And so anytime that I'm out there, I try to also bring attention to the fact that I'm not the only progressive candidate that is running in a race in this country. There are 100 other people a part of this Courage Candidate Pact who have already agreed to abolish ICE. I believe they've agreed on universal health care. They've agreed on impeaching the president. And it's like, one of the ways to support me, if you believe in my message and this campaign's message, is to support those other candidates and support their campaigns and to support that message, because we can build a better future, but we can only do it together. And
I love it. Are any of them in the South?
Oh, throughout the country. I think we have like 30 different states. There are a couple in North Carolina. I know some from North Carolina, Florida, Texas, Georgia. And so they need our help too. And so, if there's 100 of us and even 50 of us make it into the Congress, we can now go to the rest of the establishment Democrats and be like, okay, we all did this on the fly. Now that we have 2 years to actually, now that we all understand what's going on, we can help other people in 2 years. So you better listen to us now, because if you don't, you're going to have 150 courage candidates next time to face.
Mm-hmm.
And that is how we build power, is by having people across the country willing to stand up for these values, willing to stand up for these ideas, and working together so that all of us, as many of us as possible, get elected.
Yeah, I think I've always held the position for a very, very long time that if you want to win for any sort of office, free healthcare is a position you must always have. If you have just this position and you just run on this position, you will absolutely win it.
So I do not like the term free healthcare, because it's not free. It is provided by our labor.
Yeah.
We are paying, like, so universal healthcare would be paid for through our taxes. It would be propagated through our labor.
Right.
Universal healthcare is not free. It's an earned benefit.
Agreed. I stand corrected. I absolutely agree with you. But speaking of the quote you gave, the funding, so let's talk a little bit about your campaign. Rosa DeLauro raised $1.7 million last cycle. Only 5% of that came from small donations. Not surprised. You're running explicitly against that model. Where does your funding come from? Are you going to accept any PAC money? Are you or any? I know the answer, but I figured we still get it out of the way. Yeah. Are you going to accept any PAC or corporate money at all?
Corporate money, 100%, absolutely not. Now, the PAC money, this is where things get interesting, because I'm part of citizens impeachment, right? They could have and they believe in all the policies that I believe in, or at least most of them. If they were to, get millions of dollars of funding from grassroots support or whatever, and wanted to give part of that money to this campaign, that's technically a PAC.
Right.
And so that it's a weird position, because I don't want to take PAC money. And so the balance that I think I would strike is that if a PAC does want to give me money, I will only accept up to $3,500 in line with individual campaign contribution laws. Because at the end of the day, a person is making that decision for that PAC to give money to someone. And so I feel like I would be comfortable being like, okay, $3,500 from a PAC that I support their mission, like as citizens impeachment, or like even the unions. But at the end of the day, I want to focus on grassroots funding. I want small dollar donations, and it would be helpful if like 7,000 people gave $7 a month. That would fund everything we need. But even at the end of the day, if I were to get 10,000 people each giving me $10 a month for $100,000 a month, I'm still technically more beholden to those 10,000 people than I am to the other 700,000 people in the district. So what we ultimately do need is public funding of elections. Complete public funding of elections. Because again, I would rather have 10,000 donors of small dollar amounts than, the 100 corporations that fund DeLauro. But again,
absolutely, we need to level the playing field a little bit, because we have too many wealthy in Congress, because you almost have to be, I don't know what your situation, I don't know if you're somehow managing to run a whole campaign and work full time, or what you're doing, but there is that barrier to entry for people who do want to run for Congress, because it is so time consuming and so expensive.
So I'm more than happy to share. I really try to be as transparent as possible, as long as I'm not giving away people's personal health information or stories they ask me not to share. I quit my job. I resigned from my job on October 3rd, and I have enough in savings and 401ks to last me through the election, which is more than a lot of people can say. It's more than a lot. It's still a very privileged position to be in. Should I fail to make it into the Congress, I do risk losing everything that I've built for myself. Now, I'm very lucky that I have, parents who I could, live with them if I needed to. I'm sure I could couch surf for a while. But this is a big risk for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't fucking care because I'm like, there's no future. There's no future. Like, people are like, oh, are you sure you really want to use your 401k to do this? Am I really? So they took away our pension.
What else am I going to do with it?
They took away our social security. You
Yeah.
really think that by the time we retire, they're not going to find a way to take away our 401ks too?
Right.
If we don't
Well, especially when every year the retirement age gets kicked up and up and up, it seems. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if we don't do something now, like, our climate is on the verge of collapse.
Yep.
And one of the largest, and this is why any politician that says that they're for the climate, I don't believe, because unless you are against the imperial war machine, you are not for the climate, because one of the biggest detriments to our climate is the imperial war machine. Are the drums, are the bombs that we drop, are the helicopters that we fly, are the planes that carry the bombs that we drop. All of those emit pollution and CO2 and all of these awful things that destroy environments, that destroy the climate, that destroy the planet's natural ability to heal itself. And so we need to end this imperial war machine. We need to end the age of capitalism and move towards a democratic socialist society that ensures that we democratically allocate resources to ensure that every single person in this world has that minimum standard of living, and that we have strong protections for our environment. Because at the end of the day, what good is having money if we don't have an environment that can sustain life on this planet? And so that is why I'm willing to take this risk, because I'm able to do so. It's terrifying. I don't like the idea of not having income. And every time I spend $1, I'm like, oh.
There goes another one.
Yeah. And it's just like, and then the other thing is, I think it's good to have the experience of being unemployed, because that's what a lot of people have to go through. And to be able to have and again, this is still a very privileged position that I even have savings and 401ks to be able to do something like this. But having that feel of what it's kind of like to not know where your next, where money is going to come from, it's a very eye-opening experience that I've only scratched the surface of, because there are people that, again, they don't have savings and 401ks that they can fall back on. So again, I'm not even getting the full experience of being unemployed.
Yeah.
I think that was some great insight. That was awesome. No, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off from your question now, but I am curious about any other challenges that you find yourself facing.
That's exactly what I was going to ask.
Okay. What other challenges are you facing during this campaign?
Fundraising and volunteers. The people that are most likely,
always the big ones for grassroots.
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing. The people that are most likely to want to give me money and volunteer don't have time or money because the system has deprived us of both. So to me, there are only two true commodities in life: time and effort. Because if you have all the time in the world, but you have no effort, nothing gets done. If you have all the effort in the world, but no time, nothing gets done. And so the system has deprived us of our time and effort, and time is money. So also money. And so, yes, it's very challenging to go up to people and be like, hey, you can't afford rent or groceries, but can you afford to give this guy who might be a lying piece of shit $5?
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to school and you have like 3 jobs. Could you set aside an hour of that time away from your children or your dogs or your hobbies to come help a person who hopefully has a good heart? But as you mentioned before, it's like, you never know. And so I can't fault people, but it is a challenge, because it's like I'm one person. I mean, I do have a team. I'm not completely doing this alone. I do have a core group of people that are here to help. But, when we get more into canvassing and phone banking and outreach, we're going to need volunteers. But again, I understand that people are just so deprived of their time and energy that it is hard to be like, oh, okay, cool. Let's try and help elect this guy. And is he going to do anything to actually change anything? Or is he just a smooth talker? And so I always do that. I think that is one of my biggest struggles, is how do I convince people that I'm not just an asshole who knows what to say, And how do I prove to people that what I say are my true convictions?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I mean, it's a huge risk on you, and it's a huge risk on anybody who's trying to support you. Anybody who's trying to get involved politically is taking a risk, right? I mean,
and
absolutely.
that was I think another reason. No, I don't think it was another reason behind quitting my job and taking this risk, because I'm risking myself on people, and I'm hoping people will then be willing to take a little bit of a risk on me. And the nice thing about risk is that, and this is, why universal healthcare would be so great, is that the more and more people that sign up, the more and more people that are in that pool, whether it be healthcare, whether it be volunteering, it minimizes the risk for everyone. It minimizes the amount of time any one person has to spend. So if 10,000 people can give a little bit of money, then that's every person that gives money, every person that has to give less money. More volunteers is less time each volunteer would have to give.
Well, we're not a huge platform, but we'll definitely make sure that whatever links you want us to share. I have your website, so I'll make sure that your website is linked on this video, of course, and any other videos we take from this. We'll make sure that we have that linked for you.
Yeah, and another thing that I was going to say too is, two parts to my query is, when you talk about like trying to convince people, I think people that are politically motivated, right, that keep up with the politics of America, are so traumatized by one giant ogre, Fetterman, Jonathan Fetterman. Like he has. Like right now, the big race happening in Maine with Grant Plattner, and we can maybe talk a little bit about him too. Share your thoughts on him. People are right. People are constantly asking in his comments, or is somebody that makes a video about him, constantly asking, but well, what if he turns out to be another, Fetterman, right? And I think you'll never know. You can't know. You can never know. You have to take that risk. You just have to. And from what I hear, he aligns with everything that I believe, that anti-war, the healthcare for all, and against the genocide. Like you have to take the chance. Like there's always
I think
a risk.
establishment Democrats are taking advantage of that anxiety that we have.
Absolutely,
though.
yes, yes. Pushing Janet Mills on everybody. But she's like 85. Like, come on, even older than
she's
Rosa
not
DeLauro.
fundraising well, which is
no,
nice.
that's
great.
Yeah, great, right. The other question that I wanted to ask is, I struggle when we do this on a weekly basis. To keep my cool. I yell at people all the time. Literally just now, I just got called a terrorist, so which is great. So have you had any experiences where people have pushed against you, whether if they're, I'm thinking like Democrats probably are more open to listening to your messages, but if you run into, to a MAGA conservative ties, have you had that experience at all?
Oh, of course. I've
Yeah.
been
How do you deal with it? Give me the secrets.
I've been called a faggot. I've been, all those ones. I had a flag, and some MAGA was like, "Oh, go take that flag and shove it up your ass." And I'm like, "Oh boy, I'd enjoy that too much." And he gave me like the most. He was like horrified. I just turn it into a joke, because at the end of the day, what I do my best to realize, and sometimes some days are easier than others.
Yeah.
But what I try to remember is that these people are acting out their unresolved trauma. And hurt people hurt people. And so I do my best. That's one of the reasons why I wear this cross, is because I'm not a really pious man. I just think that Jesus was he was a great man, but I just think he was a man, and I think he had a beautiful message. And I find it very weird that these Christian nationalists proclaim their love of Jesus, and then they do the exact opposite of what Jesus said and seem to hate everyone that Jesus loved.
Yeah.
But one of the miracles to me of Jesus was the fact that he just was infinitely compassionate with people. And so that is one of his messages that I do try and take to heart myself, is do my best to have that compassion and that infinite compassion, because they know not what they do. They're acting out their trauma. They see someone and they latch on and they use that person as an avenue to release that unresolved trauma from either from a long ago or from the trauma of just living in this society where we are being shown a live streamed genocide, people being executed in the streets, people who are homeless being bulldozed away, people starving, people struggling. This is traumatic. The human body was not designed to be given all of this information and all of this horrific information. And so, again, I just do my best to understand that that's what I'm walking into. That is the contract that I made, is that once you step into the public domain and you give your opinion, there are going to be people that lash out because you give them an avenue to direct their unresolved trauma. And again, some days are easier than others. And at the end of the night, I do, sit back and puff on a joint or two or three,
There you go.
and just laugh things off, because that's kind of what you have to do. And yeah, I mean, they just try not to take it personally. It's not personal.
Yeah.
It's
No,
not
I mean, he's completely
they don't know
wrong.
me as a person.
Yeah. No, well, the guy that was yelling at me, like I don't know how much you know about the Khalistani movement. That's actually pretty big news that just came out today too. Or not today, just this week, I think. Yeah, it's this week. The FBI interrogated and got a guilty admission from a Indian nationalist who was here to kill U.S. citizens at the behest of the Indian government. And the people they're targeting are my people, the Sikh people, the Punjabi people, who they love to call like Khalistanis. So basically like a separatist movement that happened a while back, and it's still gaining traction. I don't ascribe to that. I think the state that I'm from should be part of India. I just don't think India should be just so, supremacy driven that it is right now. So he's completely wrong. It's just funny because they have no knowledge of what they're talking about, but they love to talk about it anyways. Fun question.
Oh yeah.
So, go ahead. No,
Real
go
quick.
ahead.
So that is anecdotal versus statistical. So I mean, like one of the things that I always get is, oh, how come you never say anything about the illegal immigrant that murdered this person? Well, first of all, that undocumented immigrant was arrested and held accountable for their actions.
Right.
First difference. Second of all, sorry, I lost my train of thought on that one.
You're doing anecdotal versus statistical.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, that was one immigrant. What about the 5,600 and whatever cis straight white male that commit more homicides and all of these horrific crimes on a per capita basis, on a statistical per capita normalized to the population and percentage they are within that population? You are still statistically more likely to be shot and killed by someone that looks like me than you will ever be by someone that looks like you or you.
Right.
But as soon as a woman or as soon as a brown person does something wrong, suddenly we paint this huge brush that every single person that looks like them must subscribe to that, when literally we have seen that more people that look like me are just awful.
Yeah, like undocumented immigrants commit like maybe 0.10% of total crime in America.
Right.
It's like negligible. But a fun question, because there's a chatter in our chat. He wants to. Are you a gamer by any chance? Do you play anything?
I used to play a lot of Halo and Nintendo.
Okay, based Halo based. Are you familiar with Fortnite at all?
No, and I'm sorry that I just lost
disappoint the chat.
You're gonna disappoint the chat. So you said no. You don't know anything about Fortnite, any of the skins that are in there.
I'm no.
No? Okay. He wanted to know what your favorite Fortnite skin is. But he actually has another question. We could probably ask that. Let me see. Let me pull it up. Okay. He is from Connecticut. He's currently not in Connecticut, but let me see. I was going to ask a question about Connecticut and brain drain. I'm from Connecticut, and I remember when I was told Connecticut was one of the wealthiest states in the country, but I never felt that. Probably because I am not from a wealthy family. After university, I and the majority of my friends moved to different states right after university to other places nearby that had more opportunity for us. I'm curious. Third congressional district is very close to New York. It has a median household income of $92,000. I'm curious, what are your general ideas that would encourage young professionals such as myself to want to come back to Connecticut, in particular to third district? I've been relatively pessimistic about Connecticut, which I can attest to that he has. Just curious about your general thoughts. I can give you a little bit of background information. He is a PhD candidate for psychology, so he's very smart, and he's currently in New York. So, how would you answer that?
I mean, so I think kind of going back to what I discussed earlier, I think one of the biggest things is having reliable, high-speed rail that can give people the opportunity to work in
Yes.
more affluent areas that have those higher paying jobs
Yep.
without having to have a 2-hour commute every day. We have the technology, we have the money. There's no reason why we can't be transporting people between New Haven and New York in 45 minutes or under. And also on those
Absolutely.
high-speed rails, having things like Wi-Fi, so that way you can be doing something on the train instead of just sitting there doing nothing. The other thing is expanding work from home opportunities. There's no reason why, just because some jobs can't be done from home, that all jobs cannot be done from home. I don't have to clean a toilet every day. Some janitor, like a janitor, has to. Should everyone have to clean a toilet? Because that no. There are plenty of opportunities for jobs that can be done from home, and that would also allow people to be more in areas that are more suburban. Then also having increasing the housing availability by ensuring that private equity is not snatching up the houses and ensuring that people can afford these homes and can afford the things that are unique to Connecticut. And then also just having more, I would like to see more of these companies such as like Lockheed Martin and General Dynamic and all whatever in Connecticut provide opportunities for jobs that build the infrastructure here in Connecticut. That way people are actually invested in Connecticut by their work directly benefiting their communities versus having these machines made to be sent overseas to bomb brown people.
All right. No, absolutely. And every day I drove by, I work right next to RTX, and last year there was a huge general strike by, I think, what was it? I forgot. Is a 42, the strike group 42, the unions, they were up there. Then all they wanted was just healthcare and job protection. Like that is what the average person wants. They just want healthcare and just to work, just to go to work. And these people were just not even willing to. And they made $600 million profit in 3 months. Not even the full year. $600 million profit from war in Gaza, war in Ukraine, war everywhere, Sudan, Rwanda.
And
It's
exploited
insane.
labor.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's just insane. Let me see if he Cairo, if is there any other questions? If anybody else has a question, we'll take them. Otherwise, we'll keep going.
And if he has a follow-up question, if he's not convinced by that answer, then I can talk more about things we can do. And that was thank you for that question. That was a great one. I don't think I've ever gotten that one before.
No, he's very smart. We've had him on as a guest to talk about red pilling and mental health for men. He's very knowledgeable. And then Connecticut has a shortage of psychiatrists and doctors, so we want him back.
Gotta get him
We
back.
want him back. Yes.
He said he likes high-speed rail.
I love trains. I love trains. We need more trains.
We need more trains.
Yes.
So the one thing though about a question like that is some of the policies that would be beneficial to places in the third district do have to be done on the state level versus on the federal level. So what I proposed is something that could be achieved through the federal level. Some other things like, ensuring certain tax credits or whatnot, that would most likely have to be done at a state level, and ensuring that, the state is funding, these healthcare programs. But there's no reason why, as a, congressperson, that I couldn't try and push for federal funding that would help supplement the state in ensuring that there is funding for programs of that, if we can show that there is a need. And some of the nuances of policy, I won't have the full understanding of until I am elected to the Congress and do have a better, because one of the issues with all of this is that all of these Congress people do all the work behind closed doors. So we don't even see how policy is driven. We don't see how policy is made. And we don't see how these decisions how people come to these decisions, because everything is done quickly behind closed doors with lobbyists. And then you're given like 24 hours to read these huge omnibus bills that have all these poison pills in them. And people just vote on because their corporate lobbyist said, vote for this or we're not going to give you money in the next election cycle.
Yeah, I agree. And it's very valid. It's impossible to read those things. And he said it's a very valid answer. Okay. Speaking of your campaign, I did have another question too. So I've been looking at your opponents, and we had somebody named Dumjan DeNoble. Am I saying
Damien
that correct?
DeNoble.
Damien DeNoble. He just dropped out yesterday.
Yes.
Okay. His campaign data showed that the 80% of District 3 want, is it District 3rd or District 3? Which one's better to say?
I say the 3rd congressional district. You can say District 3.
Okay. Well, when I said District 3, it sounded very Hunger Games like. So I didn't.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Like I want to just get that out there. So.
Yeah.
Anyways, so it shows that the majority of the population, 80% of the population, wants a primary challenger to Rosa DeLauro. Have you had any conversation with his exit happening to consolidate some of the anti-Rosa DeLauro vote, which personal feeling, I haven't looked at the data for it. I think there is a lot of that. Have you had conversations with him? Do you think this helps you, hurts you? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I always find in anything that happens, I always find a way for it to be helpful, because that's how we push forward. I think it's very interesting information, and I think ultimately it is helpful for a couple of reasons. One, if both of us, so the biggest challenge is going to be to get onto the ballot, because Connecticut has a lot of restrictive practices that do not encourage primary challengers and make sure that the incumbency has protection. So if we are able to get onto the ballot, that is going to be the big challenge and the most of the legwork. However, if both of us were to, if both of us were able to get onto the ballot, that would be an interesting situation, because Rosa DeLauro will still have a lot of institutional support. She will still have name recognition, incumbency, and this facade that she is a progressive champion fighting for the working class, which I contest.
Sure.
But had Damien and I both got onto the ballot, it would be much more challenging for one of us to win the primary, because now you would have two people saying, anti-DeLauro things with, I'm not sure the full extent of his policy platform, but I'm assuming we're aligned on several of the main policy points. So would we have diluted the anti-DeLauro vote?
You'd be splitting the base.
He gets back in. So that, I think, is very, that in itself is helpful, because I wouldn't know how to necessarily, I mean, there are a couple of things that I could do to distinguish between the two of us, but I would much rather have my focus be on Rosa.
Yes.
The other thing is, he's everything he wrote is 100% accurate as far as the challenge of mounting this sort of campaign. And this is a point where I'm fortunate or unfortunate, or column A, column B. I don't have children. And so I find it very admirable that he decided that, like, look, this is going to take a lot of time. This is going to take a lot of effort. This is going to take a lot of focus. And that's not fair for me to do to my children at this time. And he doesn't want to be away from his children. And that, I think, is just a very noble thing of him. Sorry, I'm terrible with the pun.
No, I liked it. That was good.
But then also, I think it would also be helpful because, I don't know if he was able to do more fundraising or if he had just more personal finances that he was able to put into the campaign to get that kind of information. But now having that information, we can show the Democratic establishment that there is appetite for someone to challenge Rosa DeLauro, and that there is appetite possibly for someone like me to challenge Rosa DeLauro. And so, again, I was able to, quit my job. I don't know if he has to work to support his family or whatnot, but because I don't have the obligation of supporting a family, I do have much more flexibility in doing something like this. And so having the information that he was able to provide, I think, is going to be a net benefit for this campaign, because now we're not flying in the dark as much as we were before. And so I do appreciate that Damien was willing to release all that information for the public to see. And I do think it's a very interesting proposition that he has with his Project CT 2028, that if I'm unable to unseat Rosa DeLauro, that there is a plan to take her on in 2 years. But I still am pushing for that win, and I am in it to win it. And I'm going to push forward with everything that I have.
No, I agree. The only thing that I know about Damien is me and Annette discussed it just briefly, was his healthcare plan, which was kind of interesting, right? He wanted to have a coalition of New York, Mass, and Connecticut, or was it all New England?
I believe it might have been all of New England. I think it was the Northeast. I think it was the Northeast.
Yes, Northeast.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting thing. It's kind of something that we were talking about earlier today with governors possibly enacting laws and passing laws to hold back taxes, to fight against the administration. I don't think there's any courageous governor out there that would do that, but it was kind of along the similar lines where like some blue states are just coalescing together to look out for their own citizens when the majority of the federal government has kind of abandoned it. Whether it's the Democrats or the executive branch, they've kind of abandoned it. But I thought it was an interesting plan. I don't know much about it other than that. So
it is a very interesting plan. And so, I mean, I'm a scientist by training. My entire career has been in the nonprofit science field. And so to me, every idea is worth investigating, because that's the spirit of collaboration. You have different people with different ideas to the same problem, and many times when a problem is solved in science, it is never because of an original not because of the original idea of one person. It is the culmination of multiple ideas coming together from different points of view because of people's different lived experiences and understanding of the issue, that you then get one great idea of the sum of all the parts become greater than the whole. And so I think that idea is worth exploring. My first question about such an idea is about the federal government, because of, I think, the 10th Amendment to the Constitution and interstate and all of that regulation. Would this run afoul of federal policy, of the federal government? At that point, do we care? Because the federal government's following their own laws. Should the states follow the federal government's laws? And then, as you mentioned, that there's probably not enough courage in a lot of these governors. I hope to see that change. I know that Josh Elliott is running against Ned Lamont.
Yes.
And it would be amazing if Elliott was able to successfully unseat Lamont, and we actually had a governor with a spine. Because I don't think Lamont has had that spinal surgery yet, along with most of the Democrats in the establishment. They have free health care. They could afford to.
Right.
They could afford to do it. Right. No, you're right. We on our TikTok page have talked about Jillian Gilchrist as well as Luke Bronin. That's my district.
Ruth Fortune's also running.
Who else?
Ruth Fortune.
I don't know who that is.
Oh,
in District 1?
She's one. Yep, in the first district, Ruth Fortune. She is running. She's probably more progressive than all of us, to be honest.
Really?
Yes.
Ooh, let's look into
I'll have
her.
to. I will have to
yes.
look into her.
Oh yes. I believe I believe she was a immigrant from Haiti who became a citizen, I think, several years ago. She's a mother of, I think, 2 or 3. She's a lawyer. She goes into a lot. Like, she has a very good understanding of policy and has some great explanations, especially when it comes like to the minimum wage. And there's this great video she did on like how businesses. I'll have to watch the video because she was much better at explaining to it.
Listen, if
She
you got
sounds
the connect,
amazing.
we would love to have her on. We would love to bring her on if you have the connections. Hook us up. We would love
Yeah,
to.
I'm sure she would love to come on. I've met her a couple of times. She's a fantastic woman, and so it'll be interesting to see how that primary plan plays out because there's a lot of talent up in the first district.
Oh, even Cairo knows about her. Wow, a good guy from New York knows about it more than I do. Oh my God, I have to do more research. I will have to do more research, and I'll have to reach out to her.
Look.
Yes.
Is she a courage candidate, or you just happen to know about her?
No, I don't. She is not a courage candidate. I don't know if she's in talks with citizens impeachment about that. But you'll just have to have her on your show so that you can ask her yourself.
Yes, I'll have to reach out. Yeah, that'd be great. I would love that. I would love that so much. There's a thought that always rings hollow in my mind all the time. It's kind of always gives me courage too. It's a true story. A person, I don't know how much you're familiar with like untouchability and Dalits and stuff like that, but basically the concept of like untouchable people it exists heavily in India. They're kind of given the job of the nastiest jobs. Anyways, there is a true story of a son from that family studying hard, learning not to cheat because cheating was just allowed. In those schools, that's how the kids in those schools passed up until 12th grade. He learned the lesson of not cheating and working really hard, studied really hard. If you're into foreign movie, there's a movie made about him as well. And he goes on to achieve one of India's highest police rankings. Becomes a highly ranked police officer, and he says a quote, and he goes, "If I cannot be the sun that shines the earth, I can at least be a street lamp that shines that." Oh my God, I ruined this. If I cannot be the sun that shines upon the earth, at least I can be a street lamp that shines a dark street. So he was asked, like, if you fail, because you only get 3 tries to be able to achieve this exam that you have to pass. So it was his last try, and he was asked, like, well, if you fail now, what will you go do? And he's like, well, I'll just go back to my small little village and try to teach kids to be better, to do better. So that always rings in my mind. And then when you were talking about, like, there's always a plan for 2028, and we will continue to do this, because if you can't be the sun that shines on District 3rd this upcoming election, you'll be the street lamp that shines and continue to build a movement, right? That's just what I wanted to say, just the words of encouragement. But I think you'll be good. I think you got it. I believe it. You know why I believe it? When you were talking about finding people for volunteering or dedicating your time or money, you're genuine, and people see that. This is our first long conversation that we're having. We don't really know each other before this, just for a brief moment.
Mm-hmm.
People are able to tell when somebody is genuine and wants to care. They attract to it. They go towards it. This is why hate always fails. This is why MAGA always fails, because they have nothing. They have nothing. They all they can do is scare you. Like, that's all they can do, and people get sick of being scared.
Bad Bunny said it best. The only thing more powerful than hate is love.
There you go.
That's
absolutely. Any other question you have? I have one last one. It's a small one, short ones. But do you have anyone, Annette?
No, I don't think so.
Go ahead. Ask your question.
Okay. So you mentioned that you're a scientist, and and we're facing climate change, and we're facing biodiversity changes, collapse, and pandemics coming out. Is there a reason why you didn't make that a more central part in your campaign, or is just do you just prioritize the other things just more? Is that the only reason?
Well, when there are 1,000 fires burning, it is hard to figure out which one to go to first. But if I'm going to be honest, which I try to be as often as possible,
Yeah.
I had so I was talking about an identity crisis being a Democrat. I've had an identity crisis being a scientist. Because in this country, we don't do science, we do capitalism.
Yeah.
Science is only accepted when it advances capitalist interests, especially in the medical field. So in the medical field, we are not encouraged to find cures. We are encouraged to find treatment. Because curing something, well, first of all, prevention should be number one. And so, I didn't even go to prevention first because science doesn't want prevention. They want treatments. Because, if you cured cancer, you're one and done. You make $20 off of that one shot that cures cancer. But if you have a lifetime of chemotherapy, well, then, you can keep charging and charging and charging.
Yeah.
And then the second part is, even if the work I did was able to make a treatment, the only people that are going to be able to afford that treatment are people that have health insurance, which isn't everyone. And it usually skews against poor people and marginalized and communities. And to me, science was always about advancing the entirety of mankind, building the knowledge of mankind, and providing a better quality of life for everyone. And so leaving science, I think there is part of that identity that I haven't brought back into the campaign because it was a very back to being loving Star Trek and everything. That's a lot of the reasons why I went into science, is because I was always fond of Beverly Crusher and the Doctor and Julian Bashir and all of the people that were doing the research to improve the quality of life, to advance the collective knowledge of mankind. And that's kind of what I thought I was doing. And then I got fucking slapped in the face. And they're like, oh, no, you're doing capitalism, boy. I'm like,
yeah.
100%. Yeah. I felt a lot the same way when I was doing direct service social work. I got into it to help people, and it turns out I'm just being shown how terrible the system is and how it's designed to keep people hurting, and it's very it leads to burnout. I'm sure a lot of people who are face to face with you chose what you did for a living because of some sort of belief or ideal that you had, and then ultimately we are all, as we've said probably 17 times in this conversation, we're all faced with this brick wall of capitalism when we're trying to do good. So I absolutely know how you feel there.
And then the other thing is, so I mean, we need not just sustainability, we need restorative economic environmental policy. So the coral reefs are bleaching away. There's the topsoil is being depleted of its nutrients. We do need restorative environmental policy, but we can't restore anything if it's just continuously destroyed. And so if we can end imperialism, if we can end capitalism, if we can build high-speed rail, if we can do some of these policies that we've spoken about today, they will also benefit the environment. They will stop the damage, and then we will have the opportunity to place restorative policies. But until we stop the bleeding, we can't really restore much because it's just going to be continuously destroyed and destroyed and destroyed.
Yeah.
I agree.
Very valid.
I 100% agree with that. I have no other questions.
Well, that's okay. I mean, we've gone for 2 hours. Thank you so much for dedicating so much time for us.
Really, I know you're busy.
Where can everyone find you?
So my website is www.riceforct.com. You can find me on social media. We have TikTok, we have Blue Sky, we have Facebook. I feel like I'm missing Instagram. The social media handle is Andrew Rice CT3. Is for all of them. I'm much more of an Instagram guy, so most things go to Instagram first, but then my team does push to the other social media platforms. So you can find me on there. On the website, there's a opportunity to sign up for a newsletter, which I'm hoping to send out with a little bit more frequency. Hopefully, no more than once a week, because too many emails is gross. But if you have any questions or anything, there's a questionnaire form. So shoot me a question. I do my best to answer emails when I get them, and you can, and you'll be able to find me at the third district. If there's an anti-ICE event, I'm probably going to be there. In Hamden every Sunday, there's a group of anti-fascists that are out there. They call themselves the Corner Warriors. I tend to go there with some frequency because they're a lot of fun. One thing that has not come up this entire conversation is one of my favorite campaign slogans, that fun fights fascism. Fun fights fascism.
Fun fight. We should have started with that. We should have started with. I was just thinking about it. Actually, we should have started with the campaign slogan, campaign colors. Is there anything like
that? Yeah.
Yeah, we should have started with that. We should have actually pulled some of your stuff up. But hey, we're slackers. We're
to come back. We'll get into the nitty gritty of the campaign.
We're definitely gonna bring you back. I was joking with that. I was gonna say, well, when Andrew wins, like I want VIP tickets to the the victory party. Like I want to be there, like recording everything. I have to be.
Hey, both of you are invited.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know what? I'm gonna throw my co-host under the bus. But before we end the show, I do it every episode, but I gotta do it. She would have been one of your voters. She would have voted for you. She was in New Haven, but not anymore.
I lived in New Haven, yeah. And then I moved. I'm sorry.
This conversation's over. I'm done.
Yes. So,
I know. I deserve it.
I definitely like me better. Yeah. I bully her every time to come back. But not successful yet. But anyways, Andrew, thank you for coming. I really appreciate it, and we're gonna stay up to date on everything. And whenever I have time, I'll be there to volunteer. Door knock. I'm there whenever you need it.
So if you go to the website, there is a volunteer form that you can fill out. And what we're trying to do in this campaign is link people's interests and skills to what's needed on the campaign, so that hopefully people feel more engaged and they have more fun, because fun fights fascism. Fun truly fights fascism, because the fascists want us to live in fear. And if we're having fun, we're not afraid, and they're failing. So having fun fights fascism.
Absolutely.
I agree.
100%.
We did put your link to your website in the chat, not did. So everybody who's watching will be able to see it, and
thank you.
It'll be noticeable for them.
I was streaming on TikTok, but we got banned because obviously we were gonna get banned because we're talking about Israel, we're talking about Gaza. So that happened pretty quickly. I was expecting that today, and it did come through. Which is why we need people like you, so that stuff doesn't happen, where freedom of speech is truly protected.
Yeah, come back. We'll talk about freedom of speech, data privacy, all that. We missed so much. It's crazy how you can talk for 2 hours and not get to stuff. But
but conversations like these can go on forever, and you think, 'cause there's so much sometimes that's wrong, that like when you try to pull the thread on like how to fix it, where the problem is, what to do, where the solutions are, and you just keep pulling, and we've been pulling for 2 hours, and like there's still so much of yarn left, like the sweater's still not unraveled. It's scary, but you got to keep fighting. What other option is there, right?
That's why you have to have some fun. You said scary,
Exactly.
Scare, fear, afraid, fun fights fascism.
100%. Anyways, guys, thank you for joining us. We'll stay up to date, and it was great to have you.
It was great being here. I really enjoyed this conversation with both of you, and thank you for anyone who's watching. I appreciate you sticking by and listening to what we've been talking about. This is what it's about. It's having conversations.
Yeah, somebody said great show, so we loved it. They loved it.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you all so much.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Good night.